Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take care of my niece after she called me a slur? Original post. I, 29 male, and my wife, 30 female, have 2 sons, 5 and 3. My wife works a full-time office job, while I work from home with extremely flexible hours. Basically, as long as I meet my deadlines, no one really cares how many hours it took or what time of day I work outside of some Zoom meetings. My sister, 26 female, let's call her Barb, and her husband, 30 male, let's call him Nick, live nearby and work full-time jobs. They have a daughter, 5, let's call her Tracy. Because of my comfortable work schedule, when our kids started going to daycare, we basically decided that I would be dropping off and picking up my niece from daycare, alongside my own kids. I didn't really mind, and I thought it was great for my kids to spend time with their cousin. I get along with Tracy as well, and always thought I was her cool uncle. She's a sweet kid and usually well-behaved. So anyway, most days I bring her and my kids back to our house. I make them snacks or dinner, and in the afternoon or evening, my sister comes to pick them up. A few days ago, the 5-year-old kids were watching Bluey on the TV while I was preparing snacks with my 3-year-old, and I suddenly heard yelling. I rushed over to see what was up, and my son was yelling at Tracy, saying, "My dad's not a girl," while my niece yelled back, "He is. He's a fat." That's like a girl. The word is different in my language, but the meaning holds, as does the distinction between using it versus simply addressing a gay person. I was kind of in shock at first, but I turned off the TV, sat her down, and began explaining that this is a very bad word, and we shouldn't be calling people that. I also told her that, regardless, I'm not a girl. And because this is a bad word, she should apologize to me because we don't act mean to each other in this family, and if I hear this again, I'm going to talk to her parents. And she's going to get in trouble. She said she wouldn't get in trouble because that's what her dad called me, and he's not in trouble. I was stunned. I told her that regardless of what her dad said, it's a very bad word, and she's not to use it with me or in my presence, and that she should apologize anyway because it hurt my feelings. She did because she's a really good kid. We talked some more, and I prodded her about other things her parents said. From what I gathered, getting info out of a 5-year-old is obviously a difficult and unreliable process. Nick, my brother-in-law, told my sister in Tracy's presence that men shouldn't be sitting at home all day doing childcare, that cooking is a woman's duty, as is cleaning and really most of the things I do around my house. He also said that I'm a girl. I interpret this as not really a man, because I do housework and my wife earns more money than me. I explained to Tracy the best I could, that men and women could work from an office or from home, and that my wife or Barb working long hours from the office doesn't make them men, and vice versa. But I didn't dwell on it since it's not really her fault. I didn't immediately bring it up with my sister because I figured it would be a difficult conversation, and I didn't want to have it in front of the kids. I also wanted to talk it out with my wife first. I spoke to my wife that evening, and she was really upset as well. I told her that I think I should demand an apology from Nick and my sister, and she agreed. I called my sister and told her what happened, and she said that it's just a word, and I'm blowing it out of proportion, and obviously Nick doesn't dislike me. I said I don't care whether he does or doesn't dislike me. He is talking smack about me behind my back to my niece and to her, and she is apparently very chill about this. Rather than standing up for me, she said that's just how Nick is, and that I should stop being a drama queen. I told her to F off, and that if that was how she felt, she could pick up her own child from daycare. Then I hung up. I know it was really short notice and rude, but I really felt like I was being disrespected by people I had done so much for over the years, and they were my family. My wife said she understood, and that I shouldn't back down until I at least get a proper apology. The next 2 days were a weekend, and there was no daycare. I assumed there would be calls or texts from Barb, but there was nothing. In fact, the suspicious lack of any messages or calls made me think she didn't take my words seriously, and this actually made me even angrier. The calls did come when it was time to pick up Tracy for daycare, and I, obviously, didn't come. I dropped my own kids off and didn't even answer for a while. I know it was petty, but I was stewing for 2 days, and I figured letting Barb stew for a few hours seemed really appropriate and felt really good. Around noon when she called again, I did pick up. I was going to smugly tell her that I was ready for my apology and we could put it behind us, but I didn't get to. Instead, she went off on me about how I was irresponsible and that I flaked, and she was so late for work because of me. I just said, I told you I wasn't going to pick her up. You had 2 days to make arrangements. She kept yelling at me, so I hung up again. She kept calling and sending me texts about picking Tracy up from daycare, to which I said I will not be. Then I stopped replying. When I came to pick up my kids, Tracy was expecting me to take her as well, but I didn't, which was really rough on both of us. I know it's not her fault, and she suddenly doesn't get to go over to our place to play and have snacks. But at the same time, I didn't want to just let this thing go. I felt like I deserved an apology, and still do, so I explained that her mom and I were fighting, but I'll pick her up again when we work it out. She obviously didn't take it well because she's 5, but I apologized, took my kids, and left. A bit later, I got a call from my mom. Barb roped her into picking up Tracy, but my mom is disabled, so she was having a really hard time with Tracy. She asked me why I was being mean to Barb. I told her everything, expecting her to take my side, but instead, she also pulled the "you know how Nick is" card. That evening, I got a call from Nick himself. I was hesitant to answer, but I did on the off chance that I was actually about to get that apology. Nope. Instead, he told me my behavior was causing Barb great distress, and that we're family, so how could I do this to my own sister? I told him that since we're family, how could he talk crap about me to his kid, whom I take care of daily? He said he was only joking and that it was all in good fun. I told him it was neither good nor fun for me, and I wanted my apology. He blew up on me, calling me a fat and a hysterical little girl. I told him to get lost and that I was done with him. Then I hung up. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. I don't think I've ever commented on this sub before, but that crap just struck a chord with me. First of all, not the a-hole, but let me just say I deal with a lot of comments like that. I also work from home on a very flexible schedule, so I cook, clean, do the shopping, etc., and I love it. It gives my day structure. My girlfriend is always happy, and to me, it just feels natural. I've been on my own for a long time, never lived in filth, and I hate guys who do that. So yeah, I get a lot of comments about being the bitch of the household, my girlfriend wearing the pants, yada yada. You know what worked for me? I started acting like the manly man they wanted me to be, but only towards them. Hey brother, I need help with this. Now man, I'm really tired from my manly job. Can't do it. Hey, I really needed to talk and haven't seen you in so long. Talk? No dude, best I can do is tell you that it is what it is and it'll sort itself out. Some people picked up on it, others haven't. But my point is, just be what they want you to be for a while and see how quickly they change their tune. Eventually, you'll have a chance to throw it back in their face. I hate people like that. I totally get you, man. I used to work an insanely demanding job when I was fresh out of college, and it just brought me no joy at all. Like, my wife really loves her career, she's crushing it, and I'm super happy for her. But for me, my job isn't my calling. My job is my job and I do it well. I just do it so I can afford fun stuff for the people I love. The time I spend with my wife and kids is what it's all about for me. Edit. The angle of Nick actually wanting Barb to quit her job is not one I considered, but now I think it might actually have merit, and it makes me very worried for her. I will also make certain to stress to Tracy that I love her and that none of this is her fault. Thank you all. Now for the first update. Just to clarify a few things. My dad died from a heart attack 2 years ago, which came as no surprise because he smoked a lot and lived a pretty unhealthy life. It wasn't his first heart attack either. He was a great grandpa and a great dad before that, and right up to the end. But his death left my mom alone, and she doesn't work. My mom has MS, which is mostly steady, but slowly gets worse over time. It flares up occasionally and is made worse by stress, which she's going through now. A flare-up often means the level she gets back to isn't quite what it was before, so we mostly try to keep her stress-free. My dad had life insurance, so her house is paid for, and she had a little money. But there's also a caretaker coming over 3 times a week to clean, cook, do shopping, etc., which she can't afford, so my wife and I pay for it. As I mentioned in a comment on the original post, my wife and I are financially better off than Barb and Nick. They have a fancy house and fancy cars, but they also have a mortgage and loans. So, the great response I got made me think about this again, and I thought about how I could stand my ground without giving up on Tracy altogether. I figured there was no perfect solution, and I had to settle on something. I took the day off work because I just needed to process and deal with this. One comment on the original post really got to me, about how someone would feel in Tracy's place. I just can't do it to her now. I know this isn't the update some of you wanted, but I just can't. I love her like she's one of my own, and my kids do as well, and it's not her fault. I unblocked my sister because, obviously, if I'm going to be interacting with her child, she needs to be able to reach me. I talked to my mom during the day, and she was, again, distraught about having to pick Tracy up, which is pretty hard on her. I told her I was willing to do it, but I was coming over and she was going to have to hear me out, to which she agreed. I talked to her for a long time, avoiding snark and lashing out this time, and just explained that how serious Nick was, or how he is, doesn't matter. I used that rocking the boat analogy someone linked in the comments, and I further stressed my point by saying that it shouldn't matter if I was justified or not in getting upset. I am her child, and if something upsets me, it at least warrants giving me the benefit of the doubt before siding against me. Eventually, it seemed to come through. She apologized, and we hugged it out. I think she got it. She's not a very confrontational person, and generally tries to keep the peace, but this time she went about it the wrong way. I'm not saying I'm not mad, but she's my mom, and she apologized. I explained to her that she shouldn't be covering for me because that means I have no leg to stand on when confronting Nick and Barb, and she was receptive to it. I texted my sister that we needed to talk, and that I'd drop Tracy off at their place tonight, to which I got a stoic thumbs up. I picked Tracy up from daycare today, and she was overjoyed. She was actually a little possessive of me, staying by my side all afternoon instead of running off to play, which was cute, but also made me feel bad a little, because that's the impact of me not picking her up. I explained as best I could that she's not in trouble, and I'm not angry with her, but I am angry with her parents, and we need to work that out. I told her I do my best not to stop picking her up anymore, which made her really happy. I dropped her off in the evening, and once she was in bed, I sat down to talk with Barb and Nick. I told them flat out that Mom wasn't going to be covering for them anymore, and if they didn't let me finish what I had to say, I would get up and leave, and they could find new arrangements for Tracy. I didn't mean it, but they didn't need to know that. They weren't happy, but they were willing to listen, so that's progress, or at least the threat worked. I explained that this was the situation now. I don't need them to mean their apology, but I sure as heck am going to need one. This is about principle now. I have spent years taking care of their child, and if they wanted to be a-holes, I wasn't going to do it for free. So here's how things go now. 1. I am no longer going to be dropping her off in the morning until further notice. There was no excuse for the way Nick acted, and it needed to have some lasting impact. 2. I am no longer going to be paying for family outings and family vacations. It's a man's job to support his family, so good luck with that. The exception is Tracy, who is always welcome. 3. If I hear any more BS being talked about me behind my back, I'm going to start charging them for my service. My plan was to dangle the thing they want, childcare, restoring it, but at the same time giving some repercussions and the threat of things getting hard for them again. I also laid it on pretty thick about how I am a man, so obviously I have my pride and can't have that disrespected, even by my own family, who I obviously love. Don't really consider Nick family, but figured he wouldn't figure that out. Nick was not happy about this, and my sister actually had to take him outside to talk it out without me. But eventually, they agreed to it, and I got my, admittedly, half-hearted apology. I could probably press it further, but I didn't want to risk having to either back down or hurt Tracy again, so I took this. There were no tears and no warm hugs, but I get to walk away with what I wanted, giving them some payback without having to give up my time with Tracy. I still plan to talk to my sister alone about her relationship with Nick and about how she sees me, but I figure I should let things calm down a bit before I do. I know this isn't the resolution some maybe most of you wanted, but at the end of the day, I need to find a solution I can live with. And for me, this is it. I'll update if anything changes. You are paying for their family vacations? Damn. I thought I was paying for our family vacations, and honestly, because my wife makes more than me and is mostly the one in charge of our finances, she could be considered the one paying, since her income basically keeps us housed and fed, while my salary is the having fun fund. She was actually always very excited about this, since she doesn't have much family remaining. So having Barb, Nick, and Tracy alongside her sisters always made her feel like she had a big family. She felt this justified the expense and made her really happy. Obviously, she is now furious with them, because I don't think either of us will feel comfortable paying for them again, and they probably can't afford to come along. I do hope we will still get to bring Tracy along at least. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Mistaking kindness for weakness. Now for the second update a few months later. These past few months, things have been tense, but okay. I haven't gone back on my word about dropping Tracy off, and haven't been paying for meals or anything really. Also, having realized what sort of man Nick is, I've been gently trying to get some alone time with my sister to ask her some questions about their relationship. Has he been isolating her? Is she financially dependent on him? Can she go out with her friends? How jealous does he get? Some of her answers made me a little uncomfortable, but I can't really force her into anything. I'm not trying to excuse the way she treated me, but I think she's in a bad situation herself, and I don't want her to become more isolated than she already is. So, I'm gently trying to guide her down the right path, dropping hints like, "Isn't this like what your really bad ex used to do?" and the like. I don't think she quite realizes how deep into this she is, but I also know from past experience that forcing her into anything will mostly cause her to pull away and become more stubborn. So, I'm trying to guide her to the right conclusion gently, while making sure she knows she has a place to go and someone to support her if she ever chooses to break things off. Nick hasn't really been anything with me. I don't think his feelings about me have changed much, but he's basically avoiding interacting with me and has to work a lot when we get together as a family, which I think might be the best outcome for everyone involved. Tracy has been sweet. She's slowly learning to read alongside my oldest, and she still enjoys bad words, just less mean bad words now. Poop has been a hit. She's now a big fan of the Tom Cardy song, "Have You Checked Your Butthole?" We've been pretty good about making clear the difference between rude words and hurtful words. Over the holidays, we went on a trip. At first, Barb and Nick were probably shocked that I was serious when I said they were welcome to join us, but I wasn't paying for anyone but Tracy if they chose to send her along. I talked it over with Barb, leaving it up to her how to convey that to Nick, who, as stated, was avoiding me. I assume he didn't take it well, but I don't really have a way of knowing for sure. Barb, for her part, tried doubling down, trying to get me to cave. But I stood my ground. I said I wasn't paying for things, and I meant it. I explained again that this wasn't about a specific trip, but about the fact that I used to believe they genuinely and unconditionally loved me, and that is just no longer the case. It's not something I can just unfeel. I need this to feel like I am standing up for myself, and she can choose to respect my feelings and my decision or be angry, but I won't back down on this. The only choice that is up to her is to come on her own dime or not come, and to send Tracy along with us or not if she chooses not to come. She ended up sending her along, and we had a blast. My wife seems much relieved to no longer have to put up with Nick as often. She apparently had him pegged from the get-go, but wanted me to come to my own conclusions, and was hoping he wasn't as bad as he initially seemed to her. She's glad I'm standing up for myself and that we still get to hang out with Tracy. I still hope someday Barb comes to her senses about her situation, and I will fully support her if she does. Despite not quite being over what she either thought about me, or at least didn't stand up for me to Nick about. But she's still my family. Regardless, thank you to everyone for your support and advice. Last story. Am I the a-hole for taking my niece lunch after her mom didn't do anything for her birthday? So, I 34 female and my husband 38 male travel a ton. We hardly ever get to see family because we've been all over the place. Bora Bora, Paris, Hawaii, Rome, Japan, China, you name it. We were all set to go to Moorea next, but I found out I was pregnant, and my husband thought we should settle down for a bit until the baby starts school or something. We were really looking forward to it, but then I had a miscarriage in September, and I was crushed. I can't shake the feeling that it was my fault that my baby boy's gone. So, we haven't traveled anywhere since, because I just can't handle it emotionally. My big sister, 35 female, has 4 kids, 13, 3, and 8-month-old twins. And I love them all. I see them every week now that we're not traveling. My niece just turned 13, and my sister is spending all her money on my nephew's birthday coming up. She's booked a big party at Chuck E. Cheese and is taking him and his buddies to Disney World, while my niece will be babysitting the babies. I told my sister I get that she needs to focus on my nephew's birthday, but I didn't think it was fair for my niece to not get anything special. She snapped back that I wouldn't understand since I'm not a mom, and that really hurt. So I decided to do something nice and bought some sushi and candy for my niece. I texted her to find out when her lunch break was, and when she said 11:45 a.m., I made sure to be there. I brought a huge 50-piece sushi tray and goodie bags. I made sure that the girls got lip gloss, nail files, hair clips, pink pens, and mini notepads, while the boys got blue pens, blue poppets, controller-shaped erasers, and mini notepads. I paid for everything myself. I gave any leftover sushi to the other teachers. My niece was thrilled. She couldn't stop smiling, and she told me I made her the happiest girl ever. When she got home, my sister called me up saying I made her look like a bad mom and that I made her feel terrible. She told our mom, and of course mom said I crossed a line. She added that just because I lost my baby doesn't mean I can take someone else's joy. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Why is your sister going so over the top for a 3-year-old's birthday and ignoring a 13-year-old's birthday? I have kids, and I'll entirely admit to doing big parties for their 3rd birthdays, but we've always made it a point to keep things even. Both kids get big parties, or neither kid gets a big party. It's that simple. That said, a big party and a Disney World trip with all your friends is ridiculously over the top, particularly when you're doing absolutely nothing for your other kid. The favoritism is just insane. I'm guessing that the 13-year-old has a different dad from the 3-year-old and is treated as a second-class citizen in the family, which, stinks. Your sister is the a-hole. She looks like a bad mom because she is a bad mom. My niece was adopted when she was 2, so she does have a different dad. But my sister was never in a relationship with him. That is something to ask your mom, unless she is really showing favoritism to her real blood grandchildren. She isn't speaking to me. I've asked her several times if we could just sit and talk with some coffee and just talk about the situation. But nope. She just keeps saying, "You don't care about me anymore because you won't just stop sulking about a child you never met and just have another baby."